right, beautiful friends. Welcome back to another episode of Love, Death, and Movies. This is episode 26. We are fully into the 20s now, which is amazing. Congrats to us, Harry. But I'm here joined by my wonderful co-host, Harry Argyle, going back to the OG, just the wonderful Harry. How
Wonderful
are you doing
Harry.
today?
I'm feeling wonderful. It's early in the morning for me, so I'm not tired or anything. I had a good night's sleep, but my voice is very deep when it's early in the morning, so I might sound
Mhm.
like an old school like radio desk jockey. So we'll see. Like
Exactly what we need for today's episode.
yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking as well. But when Australian listeners may know this, but there's a radio station called Smooth FM in I think it's maybe just Sydney. Well, it must be around Australia, and they've got like a lot of like love doctors in there. And
Oh, it's
apparently,
fun.
whenever I wake up, I sound like a love doctor. So that's me
Love
today.
it.
How are you, Ash?
Well, that's going to be your new name going forward. So
The
thank you for that.
love doctor. Yeah.
I'm doing good. Yeah, it's a Saturday afternoon. Been a good weekend so far. Ready to dive into this movie. I have thought about it a lot today and it's been on my mind. I just rewatched it this morning. So we were discussing another A24 film, obviously, since it is April 2024. So clever of us.
Thank you.
And we are doing Under the Silver Lake, which you have not previously seen before. I have seen it one other time, other than the time I just rewatched it. And it's a doozy. So looking forward to talking about this one today. But before we get into that, of course, as always, how was your week? Any highlights from the week? Anything exciting?
Did I have any highlights? I don't think I had any highlights. Did I see any? I saw Monkey Man again. That was probably it.
Jealous.
I think that was the only screening I went to. That was oh man, every time I watch that movie, the more I get like you need to watch this movie. I really want to see what you think about it.
I'm ready.
I'm a Monkey Man stan now. This is I rate it I think slightly lower than Dune, but this is slowly becoming my movie of the year.
Oh,
I love Monkey Man so much. But that was the only thing I watched. I'm seeing I think tomorrow I'm seeing Fall Guy, and then the next day I'm seeing Civil War. So next week will be a fun week. But
I'm so sad.
but
I'm
other
so jealous.
but other than that, I don't know. I just had just a good week. No, nothing crazy. Just like a stock standard work week. But
Nice.
we're here now. Swans won yesterday. That was good.
Big win.
It was a bit of a rocky one. We were versing the worst team in the comp by far. That hadn't won since I don't know for like a year or something. Um, but we were getting beaten in the by half time around that, and we were a bit rocky, and everyone was giving me messages, being like, "What the hell's happening?" But we got there. We got there. We won. We won by 30 points. We're happy with that. We're taking the 4 points going into the bye next week. We're going to regroup, come out of the bye. We're going to kill it.
Nice. I like
How's
how you're highlighting your Swans win, but not. Didn't you go to your friend's engagement party as well?
I also went to my friend's engagement party as well. Sorry, Max. Yeah, that was fun. Went
I'm
up.
just
We did. I completely forgot about it. That was yesterday. Yeah, that was good fun. My
kidding.
mate has his father owns like a pretty good property, like high on the hills on this like secluded beach. So we went there for a couple hours yesterday. It was good fun and got to see
Nice.
everyone. Got to eat some good food, drink some good drinks, talk some good talk, but not talk
Sounds
some
like a great
great
day.
talk because that's what we're doing now. How was your week,
Yes.
Ash?
Well, I was stalling because my week was very boring. So that's why I was asking you about your engagement party. Nothing exciting this week. I was off on this past Monday and Tuesday. Was just a complete degenerate, just did nothing, just kind of reset before back to work. And then it was just kind of a normal couple of days at work. So
Complete
nothing too
degenerate.
exciting. What?
Complete degenerate.
Yeah,
I
I'm a,
love
I'm
it.
a total degen. I like to just unwind and just not have any responsibility sometimes. It's great.
Hell yeah.
But now we are going to jump into this great conversation and good fun that is Under the Silver Lake. So, you ready to dive in, Harry? Get it? Dive in.
She's good.
See what I did there?
I did.
All right. Well, this movie is written and directed by David Robert Mitchell and came out in 2019. It aired, I believe, for the first time at Cannes in 2018, and it went through a couple film festivals and then actually came out to the general public, obviously purchased by A24, and came out in 2019. I did not watch this for the first time until last year. I actually watched it when I was sick during having COVID, and probably not the best idea. Not exactly the movie you want to, watch when you're all,
Brains frazzled a bit.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're frazzled and you're like sick and you have like cough medicine in your body. You're on, like Dayquil. So definitely an interesting experience for me. But then rewatching it, obviously, I got to sort of pick up on things. So that was fun. But I'm very curious to hear your thoughts. But before we get into that, I will read the description of the movie. So we have young and disenchanted Sam meets a mysterious and beautiful woman who's swimming in his building's pool one night. When she suddenly vanishes the next morning, Sam embarks on a surreal quest across Los Angeles to decode the secret behind her disappearance, leading him into the murkiest depths of mystery, scandal, and conspiracy. What a description that is. And for those who don't know, David Robert Mitchell also wrote and directed It Follows before this film, which is I'm a huge fan of. I think you're also a big fan of.
Yeah.
So he just has a very specific style. He uses music and cinematography in a very interesting way in his films. I feel like it's very clear that there's some consistency in the style choices between the two movies, which I think is cool. He kind of just has his own vibe going on.
Very big. Yeah. Very, very big.
A lot to digest, but it's his, and I respect it. This movie has a lot of themes going on. Some of the ones that I pulled out were male gaze, the Hollywood fantasy, class, like wealth and gender inequalities, even. Obviously, we have the subliminal messaging, we have the media propaganda, and lots of conspiracy theories. So it's a fun one. Before we actually get into the parts, I wanted to just ask you, obviously, since it was your first time watching, general thoughts on this acid trip of a movie that is Under the Silver Lake.
Yeah, so this was the first time I've seen it. I had no idea what it's about. I had no idea what I was going into. I just know that the director is David Robert Mitchell. And I really I love It Follows. So I was like, I've always wanted to watch this, just never got around to it. And I love Andrew Garfield. He's a small-time actor. He's going well, though. Handsome, though. Damn. I really liked this film. I thought exactly what you said. It's very much its own sort of film. The first third of it, I was completely I was captivated. It gave me very big Hitchcock vibes, like kind of like Rear Window-esque, which I'm all about, and you know me and Disturbia. But then it got into this isn't a bad thing at all, but it got into a David Lynch's version of La La Land, which I'm all for. I'm not a massive Lynch. I wouldn't say not a fan. I do recognize his work as being incredible. It's just not for me. But it's very much like that hypnotic fever dream-esque type. But it's one that you can't not just straight up respect. So the entire film's done pretty goddamn well. But yeah, I was thoroughly captivated throughout it. I thought that Andrew Garfield dominated in it. There was a lot of twists and turns that it got to a point where you can't really follow it too much sometimes. This movie is made for multiple viewings, for sure. But all in all, I thought it was great. I had a good time with it, but I'm very excited to rewatch it because I feel like I'm going to get more and more out of it. But yeah, I thought it was really cool.
Nice.
That's kind of it. I describe this movie as really, really cool. It's got a really cool tone.
Yeah. I think I've learned with I think I call this surrealist cinema, or even it's kind of like noir. No, how do you say that word? Noir? Noir.
Noir.
I cannot say that word very well, but it's kind of got a lot of those vibes where it starts to get into that Lynch style.
Yeah.
I've only watched a couple of his movies, and I've actually enjoyed most of them so far. But I feel like what I've learned is that you can't try to analyze it too much. Especially someone like me, maybe, if you're Marta McFly, you can definitely break it down and write about it, and it can be very analytical. But for me, if I just vibe with the movie and just really soak it in, if I enjoy the experience, I'm all for surreal cinema. But when I try to start analyzing it, that's where I start to get, what does it all mean? I think too much about it. And then it can kind of not taint the experience, but it does change it. So I think with this movie, on the second watch, I just tried to absorb it and not analyze it too much. And that really, I think, helped me just immerse into the world, and also just not question things too much, all the twists and turns you're talking about. You just kind of take it as it comes and see how you feel. But it's not without flaws, for sure. This movie is not perfect. But I also agree with you. I really like it. I think it's really cool, and it's got a lot of interesting themes throughout. So I'm excited to break it down. I don't have names for these parts, Harry. Okay, got 10 parts here, no names. The creative
Oh,
brain is turned off after trying to break down and talk about a film like this. So you're gonna
that's
have to give
fair
me a pass
enough.
for today.
That's fair enough.
If you have any suggestions along the way of
All
what you
right.
want to call these parts, you just throw it out there.
Yeah. Okay, I will.
All right, part one.
Here we go.
Movie opens. Huh?
Here we go.
Here we go. Is that what we're calling part one?
Yeah.
Movie opens to a what I believe is a coffee shop window. We see the words "Beware of the dog killer," which we know becomes quite a theme in this film. So it starts there. It just kind of throws you right into this world. We do meet our main character, Sam, played by the amazingly talented, gorgeous human that is Andrew Garfield. Just a little small time actor that I think is just fine. Obviously, not one of the best or anything. Standing there, and you immediately see him gazing at a couple of girls that are working there. So you can kind of start to get a little sense of who he is before there's any dialogue at all. And then we move into Sam's life. You kind of learn that it's a bit mundane, a bit useless. Honestly, you could say he's not really doing anything with his time. He's kind of just laying around his apartment. He's got no girlfriend, no job. He's about to be evicted from his place in 5 days.
He's killing it.
And yeah, he's killing it. And it doesn't really appear that this man takes care of himself as far as hygiene goes. Not really a showering kind of guy, you know? So he's
That's right.
interesting. And then we get to see him on his balcony where he spends a lot of time. We see that he has an older neighbor with a lot of birds who likes to be topless on her balcony. Just, natural things that you see.
We all have those neighbors, Ash.
We
all
all
have them.
do. We all have those neighbors. And then he sees someone new come by in a bikini. She's wearing pretty much all white. And she's hanging out by the pool with her white dog as well. And he becomes very intrigued by this mystery woman. I would say for me, like the first thing I noticed was that this specific, the way they have her looking, it's like the epitome of that like LA actress, like dream type of girl. I feel like they portray that really well. Like you have the blonde, you have kind of that like porcelain skin, and she sort of just kind of encompasses that kind of dream girl in Los Angeles that you would think that somebody would kind of like fawn over. We also learned that a billionaire from the area has gone missing via the footage on TV, and he's immediately drawn to it. He's in the middle of something else at that moment, which you probably remember, and he's just focused on the daughter of the billionaire, who's on the screen as well. And we learned that his name is, I think it's Jefferson Sevens.
That sounds right.
I have it written down later, but anyways, we learned that he is missing. So then we flash to Sam going to this bookstore where I think it's sort of like a mini comic style. He calls it something specific, but it's sort of like a drawing, writing type combo little book, and I actually have it all written down here. No one will ever be happy here until all the dogs are dead. Only I know the secrets of Silver Lake. In time, I will reveal the truth. Murders and disappearances within this cursed community. I have the answers. I will reveal all under the Silver Lake.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. It's good, huh?
Oh.
He asked the bookstore owner to give him to write down his phone number to give the writer because he's a fan of his work. Just a totally normal thing, you know?
Yeah.
So then we flash to him actually meeting this mystery girl. Her name is Sarah, played by the beautiful and talented Riley. I think it's Keough.
Yeah.
That's how you pronounce it. And we have her dog, who is a white dog, but it's named Coca-Cola.
I love that
Was
name.
interesting.
I think that name's awesome.
Yes, it's great. Dog's outside doing its business, which I think is kind of funny. The dog's just like on the front porch, and she's not even out there with it. And then she comes out. Sam gives the dog a treat, and she invites him in for a drink because naturally you invite a strange man in for a drink. That's feeding your dog a treat.
Yeah, it was very instant as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So they spend some time together in her room. She introduces him to the combo of saltines and orange juice. Strange combo. And then her roommates, or what we assume are roommates, come home, and she kind of, in a panic, tells him it's time for him to go. We see two other women, a redhead and a brunette, and there's a man on the couch that resembles a pirate-like person.
Yeah.
So then after this, we learn a little bit more about the stories that he's into that I was talking about earlier from this anonymous writer about Silver Lake. And there's another kind of indication here where it talks about how there was a jealousy about dogs' success back in the day. And so because of this, it was decided that now all dogs are bad. So we kind of continued this message of dogs, which continues throughout the whole movie. So that's part one. Part two, we'll go through and then we'll talk about it. So we have him awakening from a dream where he's walking and finding a trail of dog treats, only to find Coca-Cola has been killed, and it looks like what is Sarah eating a man's insides, but then turns around and it's not her at all. It just looks like her from the back and is wearing her outfit. So we kind of, this is like the first time we really start to see him having like these weird, they could be hallucinations. They could be just weird dreams. We don't really know.
Could be memories.
Could be, Harry. So he wakes up and immediately goes over to her place and finds it empty. What happened to Sarah? He goes to the landlord to find out that they just left and moved out. And he just doesn't believe this. There's just no way you just pick up and leave like that. And then, of course, his landlord has to remind him that if he doesn't move out, if he doesn't pay, he will be kicked out and have to move out in 4 days. So he's slowly creeping up on his eviction. He sneaks into her place that is now empty to find only a box left in her closet with a photo of her, some little knickknacks, some dolls, the 3 Barbie dolls that were in her room, and some discs as well, which we assume can be CDs. He takes the photo and keeps it and then puts the box back. And we see this other blonde woman come in and grab it, put it into a sack and just leave. She just comes into his empty place, grabs the box and leaves. And we do see the first time the 2 diamond shape painting is on that wall of the place. So that obviously grabs his attention as well. So this girl goes out and gets in a car with a couple of other girls. He, of course, decides he's going to follow them, see what's going on, because there's this big mystery now around Sarah.
Yeah.
This person that he barely knows, that he just met last night.
He literally maybe shared a couple of conversations with her.
Yes.
A couple of hours, probably, but like...
Yeah, barely a few hours. Side note, I hate how attracted to Andrew Garfield I am in this movie. I wrote that down.
Yeah, you know he smells, but like he's still Andrew Garfield.
He's not the greatest guy, but it's him. So
yeah.
What can you do?
Oh yeah.
Group of 3 women stop and get out of the car. It's the one he followed with the 2 others. And again, we see a blonde, a brunette, and a redhead. But it's not Sarah as the blonde. They stop near a stadium where we see numbers flashing on the scoreboard that they look at. We see 7, we see 5, we see 1. Sam immediately thinks this must mean something. So he writes it down, follows them further, travels through to a spot where there is paddle boats and they get in. He does as well. Not weird. Follows them a bit more and finds out that they meet up with the pirate-esque man and give him the bag with the box in it. And then he runs off quickly and they do as well. So this is kind of interesting. It's like the first time we really see him kind of going down this, what you could call a rabbit hole, trying to figure out what does it mean? He just automatically kind of runs with it and assumes that these clues he's finding must mean something. Then we go to Sam following her even further to a party, like a Hollywood-esque type house party, where we see this band that we were briefly introduced to earlier in the movie, Jesus and the Brides of Dracula.
I love that name so much. That name is so metal.
It is. It really is. I find it so interesting. And I love that this like sign behind them says Jesus saves all. It's like you have this sort of Hollywood big time party with all these people who probably aren't the best people. And then you have this band and you have a sign that says Jesus saves all. I find it all very like ironic. And I think it's kind of meant to be like satire as well. It's really funny. So Sam finds the girl that he followed earlier by the pool, and ends up following her into the bathroom naturally, as he does, and asks her if she knows Sarah and shows the photo. She immediately just spits in his face and kicks him in the balls, and he falls to the ground. And I think this scene is really interesting that next, where a group of women then kind of flood into the bathroom and are yelling at him to get out because obviously it's the women's bathroom. And he starts to hear them all sounding as barking dogs.
I wonder why.
Yes. So this moment signifies that we are likely not really talking about dogs, Harry, in case you didn't catch on to that.
Oh.
Get it?
Oh, yeah. I'm with you now.
Okay, so we're almost done with this section. So he talks to his friend Alan, who's played by Jimmy Simpson, who is just incredible.
Love him. Jimmy Simpson. Shout out.
I love this little moment here. It's not super like pertinent, I guess, to maybe the whole movie, but I just love where he's like, do you know a redhead, a blonde, and a brunette that drive a white convertible rabbit? No, but I'm looking forward to meeting them.
Yeah,
I just think
such a good
that's
line.
so good.
That's such a good line.
He's got a lot of good ones, but that one always kind of makes me laugh. So then, kind of ending this section off, we learn that Millicent, who is the daughter of the missing billionaire, is at the party. And another woman tells Sam and Alan that on the news, they have confirmed that there was some sort of flames in his vehicle involving him and these three women, and they all are dead, and that they found his body burned up. So we'll end this section here where we kind of see him notice the daughter. She walks away kind of upset, and that is the end of this section. So, what are your thoughts? I know you mentioned it earlier, but I guess were you gripped from the get-go? Like anything that stands out kind of here in the first, I think it's like roughly 25 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, I think the opening's awesome. It, as I said, it's very Hitchcock-esque, where it
Mm-hmm.
immediately is just like there's a dog killer around, we don't know who it is, and then it's just all like he's just in a like a realistic fever dream. It kind of looks like, where his whole life is kind of like a fairy tale around him,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just like the way he sees it, and he's very detached from reality, which makes me keep thinking that he's the dog killer. But we can get into that later. I've got reasons why, but
Okay.
um, yeah, I think it's great. I love this idea of like this all these conspiracy theories around Hollywood. I think that's one of the most like fascinating and creepy places in the world. And I love it. I think that if it wasn't for Andrew Garfield, this movie would go down a couple pegs for me because it like he carries this film. He has to. He's the main character for sure. But it's like he just completely sells me in on everything. Um, I love it. I love this introduction with Riley, and was it Sarah her name? The
Sarah.
yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Because at first I'm watching this, I'm like, oh, is she gonna get killed or something, and he's gonna see someone like kill her, and it's all about finding a killer. That's what was my main thought. She just disappears like throughout this night, and I was like, automatically, I was like, that's cooler. Let's go. And I was like, that's way cooler. I know I love this idea of like this old school new age Hollywood because it's like it's very much this world's very fictional. You can kind of tell. Um, it looks like it's modern day, but the way that Hollywood kind of works in this film is very old school, like from the 30s, which I think is really cool. And it's kind of like that vibe that I think that David Robert Mitchell's kind of going for. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of what lures me into this film is just like the vibe of this entire Hollywood esque. Those parties are so like that's probably exactly what those parties are like. They're just
Yeah.
so like pretentious and like hypnotic. But we kind of get into worse parties after that as well. They're even like way more pretentious on top of that. But so far, I'm hooked. Like I wouldn't say it's
Yeah.
like throughout this film, I don't think there's a moment where I'm unhooked. But it just doesn't elevate itself to be something like insane to me. Like it's so far so good.
Nice.
What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's interesting to start to wonder what it all means as a viewer, but you also are sort of just like taking it as it comes. You know, you're trying to just sort of absorb it little by little, but you start to wonder early on, what does it mean? What is a dog? Like what
Yeah,
does that
you're trying to work it
signify?
out.
And
Yeah, you're trying to
yeah,
work it out way too
there's a
early.
lot to unpack in that first chunk that I think makes you know that you're sort of in for a ride that's going to have multiple twists and turns. So you kind of have to start like stopping yourself from trying to think too deep into it early on, but it's hard not to. It's definitely one of those movies where you naturally kind of want to start theorizing, right? So
Yeah.
it is, I think in that sense, it really does pull you in. And I really love the score throughout this movie. I think, especially
Oh,
towards
it's
like the
cool.
beginning of it.
It's very cool. Again, that's another like it's kind of like a reference to like 70s Hollywood is the
Hmm.
entire score. Yeah, it's this new age and old school Hollywood combination which I
Yep.
fucking love. All about
Agreed.
it.
Nice. Okay. Well, let's move into part three then. So we have Sam getting a call from this mysterious writer of this. I'm calling it the Silver Lake series. I don't think that's the name of it, but we're gonna go with that.
Nice.
That he found at the bookstore. So he left the number, obviously, like I said, with the owner. So naturally, this writer is going to call him because that makes sense. Sam then runs toward home as he is seeing a figure in the shadows following him. This is kind of immediately following the phone call. He turns around and is sprayed by a skunk after he gets back
Yeah.
towards his apartment. This is not the first time skunks have come up. Earlier, when I'm calling her the actress hookup friend, she
Yep.
does not have a name in the
It's
credits.
just actress in the
Actress,
yeah.
yeah. So earlier he had mentioned the smell because she talked about it, and he said, it's a common smell in this area this time of year. I think this is a really interesting thing here because I think this really signifies that Sam has really bad hygiene, but I
Yeah.
feel like he's convincing himself that there's like skunks releasing spray and around the area. I don't even know that he actually was sprayed by a skunk in that moment.
Just have a shower, Sam.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just an interesting theme. I think that's funny because it's brought up multiple times, and we'll get more into that later. Um, so we do learn finally from the news footage that it's Jeffrey, by the way,
Yeah.
Sevens, the billionaire, was found dead with three prostitutes. It's now confirmed on the news. His vehicle burned up. They show a purse on the TV, and Sam recognizes it. That is the one that Sarah had used. And he gets worried because now he believes that she's dead, and he wants to figure out what happened to her.
Mm-hmm.
So we have that actress hookup friend again, like I mentioned, coming over. She's reading to him more of the Silver Lake series while he takes a bath, which I think is just really funny.
Yeah.
They're kind of having some back and forth conversations. She's talking about this owl's kiss story and like kind of history, which is really interesting. And then he goes on a tangent. I have some of the quote here. So, why do we assume all of this infrastructure and entertainment that is beaming everywhere is exactly what we are told it is? Maybe there are people out there that are more important and powerful and wealthy than us that are communicating things in the world that are meant only for them and not us. It is bad to assume media has one purpose. So this really, you kind of get into the mind of Sam here, I feel like, where you really start to like realize these like anxieties and fears that he has about what he thinks is going on, and these people that are sort of, better and more important than him, and they must have like information that he doesn't have access to.
Mm-hmm.
So it really dives into that like mind of someone who really, I guess, gets into the conspiracy theory type thinking. He then comes out to his balcony and he sees what he thinks is Sarah swimming in the pool, naked, of course, asking him to come in. And then she starts barking at him. Again, we see like a female barking towards him. Interesting.
Mm.
Very interesting. Then we follow him walking, and he's kind of seeing a bunch of women dressed similarly in skirts. And this is another example where you really see the whole male gaze theme, because if you notice, every time that Sam is looking at a female, it's always her body. It's not usually her face. The shots are always on the physical body, which is kind of just goes to show, like, I don't know if you noticed that, but I noticed that especially the second time.
No, now you say it
Watching
though,
it.
I do notice it. Like I didn't notice I was watching, but now you say it, I'm like, yeah, that's true. Wow.
Yeah, and I'll get more into why I think that whole theme, what it all means later. I have my theories. But we see him, seeing all these women kind of walking down the street, and we see them walk towards looks like a garage, honestly, and it says like movie auditions, like on like a piece of cardboard,
Yeah.
just in a random guy's garage. They're all dressed in the same outfit. And then he kind of like stops with a couple of them, and it says, "Beware of the dog killer." Again, spray painted on the street right there near him. And one of the girls, again, makes a comment about the bad smell. Every time that Sam is kind of near, you kind of have somebody making a comment about the smell, which I think is interesting that it comes up so many times in the film.
Just take a shower, Sam. Just take a shower.
I don't know why he won't take a shower. So basically, we see him sort of walking away then, and he sees his car being towed away. And of course, this is upsetting because he has no money and no job, and now he has no vehicle. So part 4, we see him walking over to the writer's house that had invited him over the prior night. Don't know how far he walked across Los Angeles to get there. I imagine it wasn't close.
Los Angeles is a very sprawled out city as well, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
It's huge. So yeah, that must have been a trek for him. So they discuss what he had found. He shows him the diamond shape, and he tells him that it means stay quiet, per a booklet that he has that dates back in history called the Hobo Guide.
The Hobo Guide.
And it has so many shapes and different meanings, and he gives them the little pamphlet, and you can see there's like at least 20 different shapes and symbols that apparently mean something.
Yeah.
They also discuss how there must be a bigger conspiracy theory going on. This guy's just eating it all up. He's totally on the same page, if not further into it than Sam is. And he talks about this owl's kiss again. He tells him that the owl's kiss symbol is on every dollar bill, zooms it in, gives him a magnifying glass to look at. Every transaction we have as a society is under her law, his words, and that our world is full of tax codes and subliminal messages.
That's cool.
Dude, the details are insane. As I'm
Yeah.
reading it, I'm just like, oh yeah, it's good. It's real good.
This is why I love this podcast, because it makes me want to. Every single time we talk about a movie, it's like, oh, that's actually cooler than I thought it was. You know?
Right? Yeah, I know. I agree. It's always nice to like be able to really dive in further.
Amen.
So yeah, he basically shows him then next. You see a lot of flashes of ads. So different types of ads, magazines, news articles, and he sort of discusses the history of like the sexual nature connected to corporations and how it's supposed to make you want things. You see lots of sexual innuendos with a bunch of, burger ads and just different random like food ads. And that's kind of where like the propaganda Hollywood type thing comes in, I feel like. And then he is shown his sort of secret room, I guess, with cameras that this writer has. And he's got all kinds of like footage just on his house that he's kind of watching. He's obviously very paranoid, I would assume, of somebody coming in. And we get introduced to the infamous cereal box that contains the treasure map that is going to guide him somewhere important.
It's all to scale. It's all to scale.
All to scale. All to scale of Los Angeles.
Did you watch this scene when he's just like, I've got cameras around my house, and I saw that immediately. He was like, all right, you're gonna get killed, and we're gonna come back to this house, and we're gonna watch the cameras. Like, it's immediately came to my head. I'm like, no, this isn't like lazy writing or anything. It's just like, I'm just psychotic.
So one thing that's interesting about this movie, really quick sidebar, is that I feel like there are moments where it's so in your face, like what they're trying to say and like what's coming next. It's so clear. And then there's other times where you have no idea what you're about to get into. It's a very strange combination of like in your face, straightforward messaging and very like underlaying, like tricky twists and turns. It's weird. And most movies don't have that where it's a combination. Yeah. So I find it kind of interesting. But yeah, I'll just end there with him telling him about the cereal box and the treasure map. So then we flash to him going to his friend's place. This is played by the irritating Topher Grace. I'm not a huge fan of Topher Grace, so I'm calling him irritating. And after this scene is where I decided to start calling him Topher Gross instead of Topher Grace. Oh,
she's out. She's
that?
out of here.
Yep.
She's got it.
So we have him spying on women via his laptop.
With the drone?
Just gross. Don't really know what else to say about it.
Wait, is this the drone scene, or is the drone scene next?
Well, this is where he has his laptop set up and he's got the drone flying outside the window of the woman. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she's sitting there, and then we get to watch them. Basically, she undresses and then she's crying. Yeah. And they're just sitting there watching.
Yeah, and he's just horrible. Like, watch this. Yeah. Topher Gross. Yikes.
Topher Gross. And then they kind of have some, I guess you could call meaningful reflection conversation during this horrible act of peeping. But Sam reflects on how he is living a version of his life he did not want. He wanted to do something important, something that mattered. And he discusses then how he thinks someone is also following him now, which we've seen that paranoia build up to this point. Topher Gross, his character, tells him that the entire population is suffering from paranoia. This is another moment where it's very in your face. The messaging is like clear as day. Suffering from paranoia. He also tells him very bluntly, we crave mystery because there's not a lot left. So these are moments where I feel like it's like so in your face, like, yeah, Sam is craving that mystery. He wants his life to mean more than what it does. And it's kind of sending him into paranoia of what's going on, and especially focused around Sarah and what could have happened to her.
Nice.
So then Sam leaves. He stumbles upon a graveyard where a film is being played. He notices some actresses are hanging out back by one of the graves with a dude, including the Sydney Sweeney.
I was going to bring that up because I was like, I wonder if she caught it, because I was watching, I was like, is that Sydney Sweeney? They're like, it just popped. Yeah, that's Sydney Sweeney's in a lot of shit.
Yeah, she's got a lot of random little roles. This one was around the same time she would have been in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So both kind of like similar little background roles.
Yeah, nice.
So there's continuous comments again about the smell when he's around. The girls make a comment about it when he comes up to them. And again, he likes to tell them that there's a lot of skunks in the area. This is like his way of, I don't know, like justifying it or like dealing with the fact that it's obviously him.
Yeah.
And then he sees these girls get into a limo with the same pirate looking guy that they saw with Sarah or
Yeah.
in her apartment. So
Yeah.
this obviously gets him suspicious. So that is the end of part four. So obviously these two sections really amp up the weird, I would say. So what do you think of these scenes? You know, with the writer, the wild party with Jesus and the Bride of Dracula, and then or the Brides of Dracula, and then Sam obviously continuing to spiral into his paranoia.
Yeah, this is kind of where it leaves Hitchcock-esque and goes more towards Lynch-esque,
Mm-hmm.
where it goes much more towards like metaphors and conspiracies and like fever dream-esque. Like I think it's sick. I think it's great. And like again, this wouldn't work unless it's the tone and Andrew Garfield. The tone and like the setting and everything. I think it just works. I love the scene where he is following the woman. It's not good to follow women. That's all I'm saying. And they're all talking around the spray paint on the road of like
Mm-hmm.
of Beware of the Dog Killer. I just think that shot is immaculate. I thought that was
Agreed.
so cool how they all just like walk up to it at once. I thought that was really awesome. Um, but yeah, like I love it. I love this whole like background story where there's reality. There's like two sides of Sam where there's like fantasy and reality, and
Mm-hmm.
like reality is like you haven't got a job, you're about to get kicked out, like for an apartment. By the way, the apartment's huge. Did you notice that
Oh yeah,
the apartment's
huge.
massive? Yeah,
Bathroom's huge.
yeah. I thought like that might be an American thing because Australia we don't like. I love my apartment. It's not that big,
I
but
definitely think that America has very different types of apartments than the rest of the world. Like I know even like in Japan and other countries around there, like
oh,
places,
there's tiny.
very
Yeah,
tight, small places. Like America loves to use up space.
yeah, cool. Yeah, rad. That makes much more
Rad.
sense. Yeah, radical, dude. Um, yeah, like that's the reality, and in the fantasy, he's like completely ignoring that, and he's following this chain of random clues, on a cereal box. Like you could see that, like he's kind of making this up for himself to kind of, I don't know, like one of the things I took away from this is he's trying to give himself some own meaning, his own meaning throughout the story. Like that he's not only trying to find Sarah, of course, but he's also like believing that he's the only one that can find Sarah. Because and like,
Hmm.
sorry to skip ahead, but there's like that the scene where he actually talks to Sarah, and Sarah's like, "You don't know me. Like we've only talked to like we've only just met. Like, well, why do you care?" You're like, that's really true. It's like because he found this like one like aspect to kind of hook himself on of this reality because he's definitely like failing in life. You can kind of
Hmm.
tell like he's lying to his mum every time his mum calls. Say, oh yeah, hard work, hard job this week, yada yada yada. But that's kind of like what he's just diving down into this full fantasy world, which makes it very David Lynch esque. But I love it. I think it's sick, and I love the tone is just so unique,
Yep.
which is kind of what propels this movie for me. What do you think?
Agreed. No, you said all of it perfectly.
I
So
say a
I
lot
feel
of
like I'll
stuff.
kind of, huh?
I do waffle. I do waffle.
Yeah, yeah. The Love DJ, right? Is that the
Yeah.
name?
Is it? Yeah,
No,
the
I don't
love
have
jockey. The love was it?
okay, there you go.
Something
I
like
don't have
that.
much more to add. I do think
Love doctor.
that
Sorry, love doctor.
Love Doctor,
That was
thank
the one.
you. I knew DJ didn't sound right.
Jockey sounds wrong. It ain't that.
Yeah, I do think that it is definitely a fantasy. I also think this is where you get more of that continued male gaze where in a different way where I feel like Sam, he wants to be like this like martyr, almost like a savior. He wants to give his life meaning by
Yeah,
like trying to like save this woman who didn't ask to be saved. Like, he doesn't even know her, like you said. She didn't ask for any help. He doesn't even know who she is, but he's hyper focused on her, this fantasy woman, and like what it could be, to where he's obsessing over it. And I think this is where you get more into that like discussion of like how bad it is to have this sort of like male gaze of going on in this world and like this fantasy of what they think their life could be with some woman that they just met.
yeah,
So I find it all very, very intriguing, very interesting. Definitely starts to feel a little bit like Mulholland Drive-esque, which is where
yeah,
like the Lynch kind of fever dream comes in, especially being in LA, of course. He always has his movies set there as well. So definitely seems like inspiration a little bit came
Oh,
from
it
that
has to.
style of movie.
There's definitely inspiration from Hitchcock as well. Like, because
Yeah.
even just like I do think the first like third of it is very Hitchcocky. That the him just even just like looking out with the binoculars
Mhm.
into the community, the like little gated community that they have. And then like it goes back and there's a photo or there's a poster of Rear Window in his apartment. I'm like, all right.
Yes.
I'm like, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that earlier, actually. You just reminded me. It's important for later, but he obviously has that poster of Kurt Cobain above his bed. He's very much a big fan. And he also has a ton of classic movie posters. Creature from the Blue Lagoon, Hitchcock, like a bunch of different classic movies, posters all over his apartment.
Did
So I think
you
that's interesting in
did you
itself.
did you notice what comic book he bought at the beginning? He bought Spider Man.
Oh,
He bought
yeah, I was gonna say, was it Spider-Man?
Yeah, he was Spider Man. I think that's really cool. I think
What a
that's just a
fun
little.
little.
That's a fun little nod. I
Yeah,
think
it
that's all
has
it
to
is.
be. Has to
Yeah.
be. Okay, cool. Well, part five, we'll jump in then. So Sam arrives at an even stranger party than the first one.
Yeah.
He was invited earlier, given a cookie that had 76 written on it, and he was told to bring it with him, and that's his entry into the party. He's told to bite it to be able to come in. He ends up just eating the whole cookie. So
No,
we'll see what happens with that.
you never do
Um,
that. You never
no,
do that.
always a bad idea. So then we have someone walking around handing out records from the Jesus and the Brides of Dracula band. They are just kind of handing them out for free. He asks his friend Alan, because Alan just happens to be everywhere that Sam needs him to be at the exact right moment,
That's true.
which is kind of funny. If he's noticed anything strange happening, like in this group of people or within this kind of community they have been hanging around with, or with the band. And he says that he did have someone that he hooked up with say that there is a secret messaging in the music. So, of course, Sam's going to take this and run with it. He sees the balloon girl from earlier, who was somebody who was at the previous party he was at. And he goes to talk to her. He ends up showing her a photo of Sarah, asking if she knows her and knows what happened to her. And she ends up taking him to this, like, I think underground type club.
Underground weirder party. Yeah.
Yeah, weirder party underground, where they could talk more privately. And he asks her about the secret messaging in the records. And I think it's kind of funny the way she words it. She tells him basically that Jesus wouldn't put a message within a message,
Yeah.
which I just think that's a really good line. I don't know. It's interesting to me, especially with what we find out to come in the movie. And then I like when she tells him to, we have this tiny little window where we can have fun, fuck, be free. Life's too short, right? This is really important, I think, especially for the meaning that you were talking about that he's trying to put into his life. I think some of these side characters are trying to sort of get him to understand that you don't need to be someone important for your life to have meaning. Like, you can just have fun and not really worry about it.
Yeah.
And this is a moment where I think this character kind of signifies that, like, just sort of like trying to kind of take him out of that paranoia, but of course it's not going to work. So then they dance a bit on the dance floor. He gets kind of dizzy and gets kind of sick feeling, and he ends up needing to go to the bathroom. And when he comes back, she is gone, unfortunately. But that doesn't stop Sam. No, because he sees the woman from earlier who took the box from Sarah's place. So he naturally just goes straight from being sick to chasing after her again, and ends up chasing her into a graveyard site. We see a lot of grave sites in this movie. Wakes up the next morning to a call from his mom. Again, as you mentioned earlier, he's been lying to her. She told him about this movie earlier on, Seventh Heaven, and she wanted him to watch it. So she's bringing it up again, talking about how she's going to send it to him. It stars Janet Gaynor, which is interesting because he wakes up at Janet Gaynor's grave. Did you notice that?
No, that's cool. I didn't notice that.
There's so many details in this movie. It's insane. So yeah, his mom has been telling him about this actress in this movie. And yeah, weirdly enough, camera pans, he's laying there. It's her grave.
That's very cool.
One thing I want to add too, and I don't know if you noticed it, I noticed it mostly because obviously I was kind of taking notes throughout, but this film repeats the number 7 a lot. 751 at the stadium, 76 on the cookie. Billionaire's last name is Seventh, like the word seven with a C and an E after it. And the mom recommends the movie Seventh Heaven.
Hmm.
What does it mean, Harry? What does 7 represent?
Who isn't that David Beckham's number when he was playing?
I don't know. To me, I wasn't sure if it was supposed to be like, people say lucky number 7. I feel like that's kind of a thing.
Yeah,
So I don't know, but
could be.
it could just be totally
Seven.
meaningless. But
I'll look it up. Maybe there is an online theory. Can wait.
I feel like the 7, I couldn't help but attach myself to the number of sevens that there are. So that's part 5. Part 6. We have Sam listening to the record from Jesus and the Brides of Dracula. I'm sorry, I just have to keep saying this band name
It's a
over and over again
sick
because it's so
name.
great.
It's a
It's
sick
so great.
name. Yeah. Fair enough.
He starts writing down the lyrics to one of the songs on a pizza box, and then he listens to it backwards because there's got to be some hidden messaging in there. Obviously, he discussed earlier in the film how he has a bit of like history with this theory. When he was like younger, he said that he would kind of like hear about how music had like hidden messages in it, and so he would try to like decipher it. He is standing over his bed doing something, and he sees an ad for Shooting Stars, which is like a newspaper ad, and he sees 2 girls. It's the 2 girls from earlier at the grave, Sydney Sweeney and the other actress. And he decides to call, and we have the shorter-haired, redheaded one come over. He asks her about the pirate-looking guy that was in the limo with her the other night, and she said she doesn't know who he is, but she did recognize Sarah's photo on the fridge because he put her photo on his fridge. That's normal
Why not?
thing to do.
Yeah.
And she says that she knows her but did not talk to her, and that there was a party a few years back hosted by some big producer, and she remembered one specific stone house that was owned by some unnamed songwriter. So now Sam gets the idea that each song lyric equates to the number of letters in it. And he has the lyrics written out on the pizza box, like I said. He's determined to crack this code, Harry.
Not determined to pay his rent, though.
No, not determined to pay the rent or, actually like maybe have a nice conversation with this girl that he bothered. Everything that Sam does is for his own benefit. He uses people for information to get further into his mystery that he's trying to solve.
Yeah.
So anyways, he takes the numbers and the letters. He then goes back to the lyrics on the back of the record, and he comes up with some message that says, rub Dean's head and wait under Newton. What?
I love that.
So then this man comes to the realization that he needs to go to the Griffith Observatory because there is a statue of James Dean's head and all of the different scientists. So there is a statue of Isaac Newton. He then goes, he rubs the statue of Dean's head, and he waits by Isaac Newton's statue. He's approached by a man wearing a crown who is very dirty and wearing like a cape, not cape, but like a king's kind of shawl type thing over him. Takes him where he wants to go, tells him he's the homeless king.
I love that. I'm the homeless king. Like, he says
So
it in a way, it's
casual.
like, I'm the homeless king. Like, how didn't you guess?
Yeah, duh. So yeah, this chunk gets really interesting in my opinion. I think I'm fully invested at this point in the movie. Like, I have to know where it's gonna go, what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
What do you think, Harry?
Yeah, I'm entirely the same. I'm like, this is what I'm like, let's go. Like this needs to pay off now for it to be awesome. But like right now, this is cool. I'm intrigued. I love Hollywood conspiracies. I think Hollywood, I want to watch what I say, but I think Hollywood's a horrific place. Like, there are some terrifying things there. Yeah, I'm fully in.
You're fully vested.
Fully vested. Diving into that Silver Lake.
Yeah, I think at this point I'm good to just jump right into the next sections because I feel like this is where it really like
ramps up.
Picks up into the weird. So I 100% agree with you. So part 7, we have the infamous homeless king taking Sam to a secret door in the middle of nowhere because that's just totally a normal thing that happens. And they walk through sort of just like open greenery, and they see a coyote digging through the trash. And I think this is kind of important because it comes up again later. And the homeless king tells him, everything belongs to the coyotes. Everything belongs to the coyotes. They are just letting us use it.
Yeah.
Which I think is a really important line. He leaves him, won't tell him where he's at. He takes the cover off his head, and Sam follows a path that leads to another secret door. And he's in this like underground sort of like tunnel system. And he starts seeing things like boxes everywhere, like a bathroom that's sort of all like kind of covered up with like plastic wrap, a bed, basically like a full on living situation. And he says to himself, it's a fucking bomb shelter.
It's a fucking bomb shelter.
Yeah. So then he gets out of there, goes back to the writer's house, I think, I'm assuming to kind of tell him what he found. And like you mentioned earlier, what do we find? A cop outside and find out that he's no longer with us. So sad to the writer. And of course, Sam has to know more. So he sneaks in once everyone's gone and wants to take a look around.
I wonder where he's going to go. I wonder what he's going to look at.
I wonder, Harry.
I wonder.
Wouldn't you believe it? He helps himself into the hidden room that has all the cameras and TVs, with the cereal box just comfortably sitting right there above them, with the hidden map very much in view of the camera. And then we see this figure coming towards him in the living room that he sees on the camera. It's a naked woman wearing a mask. And we can maybe assume this is the same figure that he saw following him when he was walking earlier in the movie. We don't know. We didn't get a good view then. But this obviously comes up again later in the movie. So this obviously kind of freaks him out. He gets out of there and he decides he wants to get in touch with Jesus, which is a funny thing to say out loud. I don't know how to say that without laughing.
Yeah.
So Alan, of course, is his go-to guy when he wants to find out what's going on with this circle of people. Takes him to like a sort of day party, I guess you could call it. And everyone's kind of hanging out like in a backyard. And Sam decides to barge in on Jesus, doing his business on the toilet, as you do, and pins him down and gets very aggressive with him. And this poor guy is butt-ass naked, and he is beating him up, basically, to find out what the secret code is in the song. Jesus tells him that he doesn't write all his own songs, and that some are from the label, and that the one that he's specifically talking about, he did not write. It was done by an anonymous songwriter.
Yeah.
Bell goes off for Sam. Where has he heard about this songwriter before? He finds the girls from Shooting Stars, and also the balloon girl is with them as well, and requests that they show him this house that she was talking about, where this infamous songwriter lives.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So they walk him to like a stone wall, and he just like jumps up and they say goodbye. Very, very strange.
It's so sick.
Yeah, he just walks into this random person's house. He's looking around and then he hears someone playing piano. They're telling him to come in, and he wants to ask this man if he wrote the song. I think it's Turning Teeth is the name of it. He notices a Kurt Cobain guitar. As I mentioned, he is a big fan. And he says something to him about like, is this Kurt Cobain's guitar from this specific thing? And the old man says, I'm not sure. I have so many things.
I love that.
He proceeds to tell Sam he doesn't know what the message means. He just writes it and pushes it along. Just like everyone has been telling him. Like, we don't know. We just do what we're told.
Yeah, this guy's a baller. I love this dude. This dude's
Oh, yeah. This whole scene is really cool. He starts singing Backstreet Boys' I Want It That Way, insinuating that he wrote it, which I think is fantastic. I proceed to laugh out loud instantly in this scene. I just think out of all the songs, I just find it so funny to think that he wrote like such a banger of a pop song. You know?
That is one of the best songs ever written as well.
Oh, yeah.
You
1,000%.
My fire.
My fire. All right. So he tells them that there are hidden messages in music, TV, everything we know. That's pop culture, isn't it? Floats away like tissue paper. I find a used Kleenex, I recycle it. Here comes your wedding song. Such a good line. I mean, these moments with this old man, I feel like it's so clear. Like at least the part about like the subliminal messaging and kind of how Hollywood is just so much like recycledness of the same thing. Like everyone's just kind of taking from everybody, right?
That's so good. That's so cool.
Sorry. Oh, I thought you were going to say something.
No, I was just saying that's so cool. I was like,
that's
awesome.
This is a badass scene. He tells the old man, you have everything. And he tells him, I'm not going to read the whole quote because it's real long, but he tells him things like, I created many things you care about, the songs that give your life meaning and joy. Tells him that there's no rebellion, just him earning a paycheck. Continues to say, I'm the voice of your generation, your parents, grandparents, and the young people that follow. So basically what I was like, it's just insinuating that everything is just recycled. It's just the same kind of thing from generation to generation. And this is sort of, I think, putting some doubt in Sam because he has this like fantasy, like you said, of this more important life, this
Yeah,
more meaningful
there's
life. And this guy's almost like it's like a cynic kind of taking it away from him.
yeah, it's like he's desperately trying to find meaning in his entire life, the entire film, and this scene is very much just like a this meaning means nothing what you're trying to find. Like
Exactly.
everyone has the exact same, and it's just recycled, and we live and we die, and that's it.
Yep. I think this is one of the most important scenes in the movie, and it's done in such a weird, very like fever dream way that it makes it so perfect. Like it's one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie. And then obviously we have the old man telling him a couple more things. One of my favorite lines is when he says, "Everything you dreamed of is a fabrication." Everything that a lot of us, I think, are seeking or wanting to feel or put meaning into, it's like what good is it? Like it's like stuff, that you can buy, things you can consume. Like it's just kind of speaking on, I think, a bigger message of like also consumerism too.
Yeah,
Sam demands to know who is paying him to write these songs because even through all of this, he still just wants to know what happened to Sarah. So the old man pulls a gun on him naturally and starts shooting at him, runs out of his bullets, and Sam decides to come at him with the Kurt Cobain guitar and beat his head to a bloody pulp.
yeah, yeah,
Great scene.
yeah. That took me off guard, like, cause like there was elements of violence in this film with like where you like kind of see remnants of the dog killer and stuff, but this just went to another level of like this just took me completely off guard.
100%. Yeah. That scene is very unexpected. So that ends part 7. So we'll finish up part 8. Sam is back at home now. He took the gun with him from the old man. We hear a window breaking type sound, and then we see the same masked woman coming from out of his cabinet. That's not creepy.
Yeah,
And this actually, he kind of ends up scaring the figure away because someone knocks at the door and it's a cop with the landlord telling him that he needs to evacuate the premises immediately. He asks for more time. The cop's feeling nice, decides to give him one more day to pay his rent. And the landlord's obviously not happy. So naturally, Sam just goes about his business. He's not fazed by the one day to pay his rent. He's just right back into it. So he looks down from the balcony. We see obviously a lot of scenes of him from this balcony the entire movie. It's kind of like his main spot, I feel like, where he
yeah.
kind of gazes at the world, if you will.
Ooh, and he's male.
He is male. He is on the balcony. He sees a coyote digging through the trash. So he decides to follow it. We have the message kind of from the homeless king earlier about coyotes. So he follows this coyote. The coyote does not phased at all. Just wanders into a regular neighborhood in the Hollywood Hills, probably, and leads him right to another party, naturally. And he notices Millicent, which is the daughter of the dead billionaire, through the window, which feels like it was like hours ago in the movie, but really wasn't that long ago. So he notices her, recognizes her, so naturally he goes in. So he goes to speak with her. She's looking at a painting, and it's just the two of them. She says it's painted by no other than the actress Janet Gaynor from the movie his mother was talking about, from the
Cool.
grave he woke up at. Another little connection. They discuss that one of her friends was with her dad, or he says one of my friends. They're not really friends. They just met. But Sarah was with her dad when he died, and he's been trying to figure out what happened to her. So he enlists Millicent to help him.
Nice.
They start walking because, of course, all of these women that just meet him just decide to hang out one-on-one with him, even though they don't know him at all. So this is kind of where you really start to question, like, what's real? What's not? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is Sam just seeing all this? Is it really happening? I don't know. They walk through a rougher part of town, and she tells him she's a little bit nervous because of the dog killer. They keep walking. They see a homeless man, and he just lays into Sam, just makes him feel like a real piece of shit, obviously. Tells him he's cheap, he's broke, just like him, basically saying that he's kind of a lowlife, and that he's no better than this homeless man. And then he tells Millicent that he fucking hates the homeless and talks about them being ghosts floating around on the edges watching people. They cannot participate, so they get jealous and harass us. This, to me, is one of the most important lines that he says because that's sort of what Sam is doing to this world. He's like a ghost floating around this like Hollywood fantasy life, kind of wanting to be a part of it, but maybe knows he never will be. That's how I kind of take it. So I think it's really interesting. So I'll stop there before they kind of go on to their next adventure. Anything that stands out here? I think this is like one of my favorite portions of the film, these two sections. And I think it's just like so surreal. You really dive into that sort of like weird Lynch type style, I guess, here. So anything for you that stands out?
Yeah, I love the owl girl. Well, what would you call it? Is it the owl kiss? Is that what the is
The
it?
Owl's Kiss.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because that's it's not human. Like you can kind of tell just the way it moves and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, I love that idea, and it's just so creepy the way like it moves and stuff. It's just it gets under your skin, just how it comes out of the little closet.
Yeah, I should have said owl mask, but I just said mask. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but no, that I love that section. But yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I love this entire section. Again, it just keeps delving more into this fantasy world. Um, I'm just I love it. I think it's just really cool. It's just a really cool
Mhm.
aspect. I don't know how much more to describe it than
No,
like
it's true.
then it's just like the vibe around it is just so like unique and cool. The score is sick, and
Hmm.
like yeah, like Garfield's killing it. But it keeps going more towards how I do think that he is the dog killer. Every scene, every single scene.
Yeah, what do you think about what I was saying with the like ghosts floating on the edges watching people can't participate? Like do you also see that it could kind of be like he's saying that he doesn't like the homeless because of that, but it's sort of how he might be portrayed to some people that are in that like more elite Hollywood kind of
Yeah,
lifestyle?
I think it's like I think work on both sides, but I do believe that it's more of like a classism sort of
Mhm.
aspect for sure. But it also could be more um, like factual of just if he is a killer, then it actually is just like his past haunting him.
Mhm.
Which is it could go down that way, but I do think it's much more of just like a take towards classism. Yeah,
Yeah. No, that's kind of how I saw it too, which I thought was interesting that he was sort of judging a lower class, but then it's like he's also being judged by being lower class. So it's like there's always, I guess it just goes to show, like, I don't know, that in a way, if you seek out that kind of fantasy life, like you could kind of become the worst version of yourself,
yeah,
and like shame and look down upon others, even though you were sort of in that situation yourself too. So yeah, lots of layers.
hell yeah.
But yes, Andrew just continuing to kill it. He 100% carries this movie. I love this man so much.
He's a good boy.
Yeah. So let's go into part nine, Harry.
Okay.
Part nine and 10, last two parts of the movie here. It's a 2 hour and 20-minute movie. So there is a lot to unpack
Yeah,
here.
this movie's a bit long.
Yes, that's one of my complaints with it. I think it's too long. I think it
Yeah,
could benefit from being under 2 hours.
yeah,
But yeah, that's definitely one of its downsides.
for
So
sure.
part nine, we start with Sam and Millicent jumping over a fence to hop into the reservoir. Why not? She tells him that she thinks that someone is following her and she wanted to get in the reservoir so that nobody would question it and just think that they were there to hook up. She hands him a bracelet that was her dad's. It resembles the bracelet that Sarah had on earlier, if you recall. And something starts coming at them. I assume it's bullets or like a bomb or something. You don't fully see it, but you kind of watch them float down. And as he looks over at her, she's got a hole in her chest. There's blood. She's kind of drowning down. And another one bites the dust, as sad as that is to say. It's just like so much death in this movie. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
Kind of become like immune to it once you really get towards the end of the movie, sadly. And
Yeah,
then
kind of do.
naturally, he runs home naked. We see Andrew Garfield's butt many times in this movie, and he obsesses over the letters and numbers on the bracelet. So again, he just witnessed someone be murdered, and his initial thought is, I have to decipher and decode these numbers on this bracelet
There's a
because it
clue.
must
Yeah.
mean something. It's all a clue, Harry.
Amen.
I think it's interesting. So he hyper focuses on these letters on the bracelet NPM, which he believes must mean Nintendo Power Magazine.
Yeah, I thought that was the biggest stretch of the entire film.
No, if you notice, he's playing Mario Nintendo with his Topher Gross buddy earlier in the movie. There's so many like little connections around like some of these big name like brands, which I think is really funny. So he goes to the Nintendo magazine, opens up to a specific page based on the letters that are on the bracelet, whole map of a Nintendo Mario game. Then he decides to finally open the cereal box. He makes the connection, gets the map out. It's all like nicely like rolled up. He unrolls it. It's see-through, and he places it directly. It fits perfectly on this sheet of paper on the Nintendo Power magazine, and he can see it clearly. He circles the two spots based on the numbers that are on the bracelet, and that leads him to circling Silver Lake Reservoir and Mount Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
Brings the connection to the two. So this is what leads him to then going to the Hollywood Hills near the Hollywood sign. And he sees a rock marked with 3 red lines. He goes to his handy dandy hobo guide. What does it mean? This is not a safe space. So naturally, he keeps going.
Yeah, exactly.
He finds, I would call like, I guess like a hut sort of thing, where you have a man and 3 women, redhead, blonde, brunette. Wouldn't you believe it? They're all wearing white gowns, and he is looking for Sarah. Obviously, he tells them that his friend Sarah died, and he says that these girls know where she is, so he wants to get information. Tells them about the messages and the hidden bunker that he found. Then the man, that's sort of, I guess, like the leader of this little group, tells him that what he found was a tomb for kings like him in Jeffrey 7th. It's about transporting to another world better than this one, something exclusive for them beyond this universe, living like kings without limitation. Only the richest man or richest men can afford this. So that's really going to make someone feel real good about themselves.
Exactly.
Naturally. Yeah. I think this character of this man who kind of like shares all this with him is another one, kind of like the songwriter who kind of like kills his fantasy, but in a different way. Right? Like that was sort of like a cynic, and this sort of represents like just like the wealthiest, most powerful man who's kind of just like, no, this world is only for me and people like me, and you don't fit there.
Yeah, it's like you won't understand this, but it's simple to us, but it's like to you, you can't afford
exactly. So Sam tells him that he wants to see Sarah because that's his only concern right now. He said that they can call her, so and that she's fine and that she wants to be there. They pick up like an old school landline phone, but then have like a video screen connected. So he gets her on the phone. She's there on the video. This is the first time as an audience that we like confirm she's alive. She's well. He tells her he's been looking for her. She says, "You hardly know me." He tells him that she really wants to be down there and that there is no getting out now, so she might as well make the most of it. And we kind of see this like switch in Sam where he says to her, "Same here." And he looks out at the Hollywood sign. And I took that to mean like he's stuck where he is, where he lives, living his life. So they both kind of just have to make the most. They're both a result of what the Hollywood fantasy can do to people. It kind of like spits takes you in and spits you out. And women like Sarah, people like Sam who are more low class, like they're always going to be the ones taken advantage of by like the rich and wealthy. So I kind of take it as like they both ended up in a similar fate, just different, which is really sad, honestly, to think about. But that scene I think is really important, like you were saying earlier. Also to note that they don't know each other. Like, why is he on this hunt for her when he doesn't even really know who she is?
Yeah, that's nuts.
Very nuts. But she asks him how he is, which was really sweet. And he's like, "I'm not great." She asks him about getting a new dog, which I think is interesting, saying it might be good for him, show him some unconditional love. So she's kind of reminding him like of these simple things in life that can, make you happy. She tells him to take care of himself, and they say goodbye. So honestly, Sarah's a real one. Like she's really nice to him considering that he's searching for her and barely knows her.
Yeah, exactly.
Part 10. So the man in the hut tells Sam, "You're living in a carnival hoping to win a prize. What are you going to win? 2-week vacation, new car, a little money to retire on. It's all just a shitty sawdust-filled rabbit." What a line.
Shitty sawdust-filled rabbit.
And the rabbit has come up multiple times in the movie as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I don't know if you connected it, but rabbit hole.
Ah.
You don't know rabbit hole?
Yeah, you're good. You're good at this.
The things Takes two watches, Harry. See, takes two watches. The things you care about are useless where we are going, is what he tells him. Then him and the three women all kind of lay amongst one another on the ground, and Sam tries to get up to leave, but he's drinking this tea they gave him, and he kind of sort of passes out and gets kind of fuzzy. He then sees the homeless king emerge from the ground, comes out of like a little like latch thing from the ground, and says, "How did you know I was here?" And he tells him, "I smelled you." And then he takes him somewhere. He chains him up, and he says, "Do you know what you did wrong?" He shows him the dog treats they found in his pocket. He says he liked a girl that had a dog. And then the homeless king asks him, "When was that?" He says, "A long time ago." "Did she stop loving you?" He says, "Yeah." "Why did you have dog biscuits in your pocket?" And he said, "I was waiting for her to take me back. Wanted to give the dog a treat and rub its ears the way I used to, and everything would be good again."
Mm.
Hmm. Okay, homeless king unchains him, lets him go, and says that he's not sure if they're going to kill him, but not to, sorry, says that he's sure they're not going to kill him, but tells him not to mention this to anyone. Sam then walks by the coffee shop from the beginning of the movie. We're coming full circle. There's still words up that say, "Beware of the dog killer."
Yeah.
He goes back home. He's purchased some saltines, some orange juice that he learned from his dear friend Sarah. And he kind of sits there with the gun on his thigh. He's got the photo of her on his thigh. And the movie is on that his mom sent him with Janet Gaynor. He hears the bird from his topless neighbor make a noise. So he decides to go over to her place. They sleep together. They wake up in bed together. And he asks her what the bird's saying. And she says she has no idea. He then goes out onto her balcony, looks over at his place, sees the landlord and the cop enter his apartment where he's nowhere to be found. He sort of smirks over, he's smoking a cig, and it goes to credit scene. Movie is over.
What do you think
The end.
what do you think the bird's saying?
I don't know, Harry. I don't know. I really don't
Mm.
know.
I,
But
I
this is quite an experience. So you can tell me what the bird might be saying. Tell me your final thoughts about these two last parts of the movie. What do you think it all means?
Yeah, I got no idea what the bird's saying. Every time he spoke, I was like, it's slightly different. At times, I was like, "Are you saying Oliver, Oliver, Oliver?" But then I was like,
Yep,
I thought it was like always look up, maybe, or something.
that would be good.
Yeah, maybe something like that. But I really like this film. I think this movie's great. I do think it's a bit too long. I
Hmm.
agree that if it just shaved off maybe 20 to 30 minutes, I would like this a little more. I thought Andrew Garfield completely carried this. I thought he was brilliant in this, as he always is. He's got a future. I love the Hollywood aspect of just like the Hollywood conspiracies. I think this movie has a lot more to give than initially seen. And I feel like only like rewatches kind of allow that to come through. But here is why I think that Sam, right? Sam's the main character. I said Oliver, and I was like, that's what
That's
the
okay.
yeah. This is why I think Sam is the dog killer. Um, when he's talking to his mate in the bar, and the news caption comes on, and it's just like about the dog killer, and he says, I've got it here somewhere. Took notes, but he says his friends like, well, how about them dog killers, eh? And he's just
Uh-huh.
like, there's more than one. Like that's kind of weird that he
Yeah.
says that. That he already knows that. Yeah, he's got the dog biscuits he carries around. He admits he was bitten at a young age by a dog. He has an
Mhm.
aversion to dogs. Why is he carrying dog biscuits? To lure, to kill, maybe? His answer is to reconcile with his ex-girlfriend, but that does seem like a red herring. He and his ex-girlfriend broke up, but they don't say why. They had a dog where they were together, but neither of them explain what happened to the dog. Um, that's kind of the owl woman. Why was the owl woman afraid of him because of the gun? If she's a mortal, ageless being killing men for centuries, why is she afraid of him with a gun? Maybe she's threatened of other mythical beings, and since the dog killer is a mythical being, Sam might be the dog killer, and he can kill her with the mythical being because he's, like that. And the editing of the film really does lean into the fact that he is the dog killer. Women's voices as he's barking. Again, it might not be dogs that he's killing. The sound of women's voices are replaced by growling and barking. I believe this touches on the recurring themes of toxic masculinity in film noir and in today's like Me Too landscape, especially in LA where dating has become more and more precarious. Oftentimes, Sam's character is physical with women, both positively and negatively. The barking
Mhm.
is even in his dreams. A recurring fascination about dogs, which is really weird with a person that doesn't like dogs at all. So
Mhm.
I think it's obvious that it's him.
Yeah, I had a hard time with the dog kill like storyline because I just still don't know if it's literal
Hmm.
or if it's something deeper. And so
Hmm.
that's why I didn't like focus too heavily on it. I definitely think that whatever it's referencing is referencing him, but also I don't know, I took it as more of like a bigger picture, like an exploitation of this world. And I think he's just like a player in it, if that makes sense. But yeah, I love everything you just said. It makes complete sense. That's what's so fun about a movie like this is that you could take so many different like theories and interpretations and sort of piece it together. There's just a lot to unpack here. So yeah, for me, one thing I really, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, one more point
Hmm.
is resembling the story in the comic. So in the zine of Under the Silver Lake, with the actual comic of it,
Hmm.
there is a picture of a failed actor shooting himself in the head on the couch. Sam has admitted that he's failed at whatever he's trying to do, and he resembles the failed actor that he's sitting on the couch with a gun at the end of the film. The
Hmm.
act of shooting himself in the head is sometimes a metaphor for losing your mind. So maybe when Sam realized he's failed at what he is, instead of killing himself, he lost his mind and became the dog killer. Boom. How about that?
Interesting.
Like that bad
I
boy?
like it.
Mm.
I thought about that ending before he goes to the neighbor's house as like he was thinking about using the gun, but then he heard the bird and it almost was like a call from like outside of him to kind of be like, wait, don't do that. And then he like gets distracted enough to where he ends up like not doing it. I don't know. I took it as like, yeah, something to kind of keep him from ending his life, but
Mm.
I didn't think as deeply into the dog killer thing as you did. I think it's a really good theory. I like it.
That's
I
me.
really do.
Yeah, sorry, I cut you off. All you.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say, I think rushing it a second time for me, I really just like absorbed up more of the like exploitation of Hollywood type of themes, more of like more big picture, especially for women. Like I said earlier, I think someone that's like more low class, I guess you could call it, like Sam, he's still objectifying women and using them to get information he needs. He only uses them to gain information to his mystery he's trying to solve, to add purpose to his life, not to their life. And even his reasons for finding Sarah are selfish. They're not about her. It's more about him.
Yeah.
So I think that's really interesting. Like I said, I think Sam's kind of used as like a vessel. He's just like a player in this world. It's a bigger kind of a bigger picture kind of situation is the way I took it. But I do like the theory that he literally was the dog killer, whatever that means, literally dogs, or if that's women, I don't know. But I think it still ties into the same messaging of like what this world can do to people. And I think also another like theme, which is interesting, is like the meaninglessness of life itself and how we're all being sold sort of like this propaganda fake life, like how cool stuff can be and how exciting life can be in Hollywood. Like you always hear about how people move to Hollywood and they want to have this great life. And so I think it's interesting. You kind of learn throughout that, like maybe Sam could finally find some happiness in just, I don't know, talking to his mom on the phone, going to work, being boring,
Yeah.
not this like fantasy life that he seeks. But as we learn throughout the movie, mystery is what people crave. They don't want that like mundaneness. So I think it also kind of speaks to the downside of seeking that like wealthy fame, someone who matters life, right? Like how dangerous that can be. And that like the truth you learn about those types of people, which is kind of what he does learn by the end. Like he learns what this world can kind of create, I guess. It sort of exposes like truths you're not prepared for, which I think is really interesting. Um, I think like in the end, he learned too much about a world he knew nothing about that he thought was so great. And it ends up kind of like being his demise and sort of like being like a negative for him in the end. Like he doesn't get what he thinks he's going to get out of this.
Yeah.
He gets nothing really. So yeah, lots
That's a
of
good point.
interesting things to unpack there. But overall, for me, it's a 4 out of 5. I do think it's flawed. I think it's too long. I think there are a few scenes where the pacing slows down and it doesn't feel as meaningful. But overall, super rad movie. Like you said, it's just so cool to watch. The cinematography, I just love. I love movies set in LA. I'm a sucker for that.
Hell yeah.
Love Andrew, obviously carries the whole movie, and I think the score is really good. But overall, the writing is just, it's really smart. Like David Robert Mitchell, he has a brain that is very unique to him. He has these wild ideas, and he's very good at putting them into a film. It's just a lot to absorb, but I respect the hell out of it, and I enjoyed the ride. So that's my thoughts. But what's your final thoughts on the movie?
Yeah, echo everything you say. I think it's really cool. I have kind of like the exact same like flaws, I'd call them. Like maybe they're not drastic, but the movie is too long. It does lose me for a little bit, but like it regains me, of course. But I've given it like a high 3.5.
Nice.
It might go up in further rewatches. I might rewatch this in the next like 6 months and be like, oh, I'd find something else. Which I wouldn't be surprised with a movie like this. I think that Andrew Garfield completely carried it. I thought it was great. I thought he was awesome in this. I think there's just a lot more to unpack in this movie than like meets the eye, which makes me excited to rewatch it, which is like rare for a movie that I give 3.5. I'm like, can't wait to rewatch this. Makes me really excited for They Follow. I can't wait for They Follow.
Yes, definitely. Indeed. I'm excited for anything else that he's going to put out. I always love a good writer director combo, like someone who does both, because I think it really allows them to see the vision a lot differently than when you have two different people doing that. So
Hell yeah.
awesome. Well, that is what we think of Under the Silver Lake. Sorry, a bit of a longer discussion. It is a almost 2.5 hour long movie, so naturally.
No, of course.
But we'll move into the fun part of the episode. And this is a game that I planned for you. It's not really like a game, but it's just a fun little thing. I was inspired by George. So shout out George Carmy from Real Talk.
Who?
Yeah, I know, right?
George, cool.
Friend of the show. He'll be, or sorry, got distracted. He did this on their episode one time where he asked them to go through some of his top fives of different genres.
Oh.
So you inspired me when you tried to guess my top 5 comedies with our episode we had with Cam. So for you today, sir, with no preparation,
I like this.
I'm asking you to try to guess, see how well you know your co-host here. Guess my top 5 movies from 4 different genres.
Oh.
So it's 20 movies total. This is my favorites, Harry. I'm not talking about, you know me, I rank.
No. I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm like, I'm excited to.
Yeah. I think you'll do good. I think I gave you easy enough genres to where you're gonna know some of these pretty easily. So I have first genre, horror comedy specifically, romance comedy as the second one.
Let me write this down.
Oh yeah, definitely write it down. Sorry, I should have prepared you with something.
So you got comedy? Comedy, you said? Just straight comedy?
Horror comedy.
Horror comedy.
Yeah, horror comedies.
Cool. Yeah, that's fine.
I can't just give you comedies because you already guessed that.
Yeah. I was just like, that's a layup right there.
Yeah.
Romance.
I'm not that nice. Second one is rom-com, romance comedy.
She's
I
not.
did that because romance is way too broad.
Yeah.
Third one, coming of age, one of my favorites.
Nice.
And fourth, crime, which is pretty broad.
Okay. All right. And that's it.
That's it. Those 4. You don't have to necessarily like get the order correctly. I'll tell you where it sits for me, but I did do like 1 through 5 for each one. So I have them kind of placed. This is my favorites. So don't necessarily just think like my 5-star films of all time. And you can go in any order you want. You don't have to do them one by one. You can just throw movies out.
Does romance include rom-com?
So this is just rom-coms. I decided to just do
easy.
romantic comedies. I did not do regular romance. And if the movie is used in one category, it won't be used elsewhere. So like if you're trying to think like, oh, that could have multiple genres, I'm not repeating any movies.
Okay, I'm going to go 10 Things I Hate About You.
For rom-com?
For rom-com.
Yep, that's number 1.
Yes. All right.
Nice job.
All right, you got to keep. I don't have that much of a whiteboard.
I'm keeping track.
You got to keep track. All right, I'll do like a dumb one there. Horror comedy. I think I know. I think you love this one. Oh, Scream is technically a horror comedy. Oh,
no, I did not put that on. I do not consider that
That's okay.
a comedy.
That's fair. It's more of a slasher. I get it.
You
Um,
know how much I love my horror comedies,
I
so
know, I
don't
know.
overthink it.
Oh, Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Yep, that's number
100% that
4.
that needs to be there. All right, so done there. Are you a Shaun of the Dead fan? Yeah, you are because you put that
I'm
on your.
guessing it.
Yes, yes, cool.
Shaun
So
of the Dead's actually my second, number 2. So I have them ranked. So you got number 2 and number 4.
okay, all right.
And I'm telling you the order because I feel like that could help you
Number
figure
two.
out other ones if you
So
know which order they're ranked in.
there's another one. Eh? There's another one, Ash. Eh? Um,
Just think about movies that I talk about all the time.
I know, but would you call Evil Dead horror comedy? You Armies of Darkness. You would. Army of Darkness.
That's my number 1.
There you go. Nailed it. All right. Um. So I've got two more. What ones am I missing in horror comedy?
3 and 5.
3 and 5. Um. Ready or Not?
Yep. It's number 5.
Yes. Come on. All right. So now 3. Um.
Don't overthink it.
Don't overthink it. Evil Dead 2?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. All right. Cool. So done. So
Horror
it's
comedy, done.
all right. So
Got
then
them.
it's romance, coming of age, crime, right?
Rom-com, yeah, coming of age crime.
All right. Rom com. Cool. Yeah, that's easy. I like rom com better. You're a bigger fan of. See, I'm trying to think of my favorites. My favorite rom coms.
I'd say rom-com and crime are hard because they are defined very broadly.
Yeah.
So I stuck with like true to myself. I think you'll be able to get most of these.
Okay. La La Land. Oh, we're doing
It's
rom
not a
com. It's
rom-com.
rom com. I keep thinking romance. Sorry. I love
Yeah,
you.
I
I love
didn't
you,
do.
man. Is a rom com. I love you, man. Is
You
a
know what? I don't consider a rom-com because the relationship between them two is not the core of the movie. So I
okay.
consider a rom-com to be like the couple or the relationships
Okay.
are the core of the movie and everything else kind of happens around that. I Love You Man is a buddy comedy.
Okay. All right. All right. You a Clueless fan, Ash?
I am, but I also don't consider that to be a rom-com.
That's nuts. That is a rom com. That's nuts.
That's a movie about Cher. The romance is sidebar.
Would you say Princess Bride is a rom com?
I would. It's my second one.
There we go. So what was? Did I get number 1? I got number 1. 10
Yeah,
things.
10 Things I Hate About You.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Um,
Princess Bride is so damn good.
it's so good. I'm trying to think of like.
Those were both couples I drafted too in our romance draft.
Yeah,
Both
yeah,
those
yeah,
movies.
yeah. You did, eh? Would you call Scott Pilgrim a rom com? Not really.
Maybe, but that's not on there.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of other Juno. You love Juno?
Not on my rom-com list
Oh, but
though.
that'd be high though, right? That'd be high.
Yeah.
When Harry Met
Again, I
Sally.
went with favorites, so it's not just based on like overall star rating. It's based on like how much I love the movie
Okay.
too.
When Harry Met Sally.
No, that I love that movie, but it's not like an all-time favorite of mine. I've only
Okay.
seen it like 2 times.
I know that it's not, but Poor Things should be on there. Just putting that out there. Poor Things should be on there.
I will say none of these rom-coms are ones that I've only seen like 1 time. Like it's like seen
Multiple.
them multiple times.
Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
No.
I thought I fucking had you there, Ash. See, I can't move on without getting the other 3.
You
Like,
might have to go to another genre and come back.
When Harry Met Sally. Did I say that?
You said that already.
Okay. Big Sick. Big Sick. Oh, how are you not a Big Sick? Palm Springs.
I do. Palm Springs is number 3. I do like The Big Sick. I'm talking about like favorites though. These are like
Yeah, I
movies
know.
that
I know.
stick
I
with
know.
me forever, you know?
I thought I had you with Juno. I thought I absolutely had you
I
with
do
Juno.
love Juno, but not top rom-com. These last 2 are gonna trick you. I don't mean to trick you, but
500 Days. That's all.
no.
Damn it. Is it old school? Are they old school movies?
They are definitely the last 2 are both they're from different decades, but they are not like new.
Okay.
No.
Different decade. Legally Blonde.
No, that's a good one. But again, the
Hmm.
romance is not the reason I love the movie.
Yeah.
It's all about Elle.
I thought I fucking had you with Juno. It really annoys me. Um, you a Bridesmaids fan, Ash?
I am, but that's just like pure comedy for me.
Yeah, fair play. Fair play, fair play.
I know this rom-com one was gonna, I didn't mean to trip you up, but
I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna move on to
move
coming of
on.
age.
Yep.
Dazed and Confused.
Number one, obvious.
Everybody wants some.
No, that's not actually on my favorites, but I do like it.
Boyhood.
No.
That's nuts to me.
I will say all these five are all five-star movies for me.
Okay, easy. Um,
One of them might trick you a little bit, but I don't mean to be tricky.
would we say After Sun is a coming of age? No,
Mm,
neither would I, Ash. Good, good. Neither would I. Fucking coming of age movies, eh? Jesus Christ. This Ladybird.
yes, that's number
Yeah.
four.
I love how I'm like talking down and it just like pops into my head. So I
I
gotta
mean, I
keep
gave you
going.
no preparation at all.
No, I love this. This is fun. City of God technically is coming of age.
Not my
No.
favorite, but I'm never watching that movie again. Are you kidding me? It was
Yeah,
so brutal.
movie is fucking tough. Um, damn it, I only got three romance. That really annoys me. Coming of age movies, eh? Coming of age. What some other coming of age movies has? Hmm.
Like 10
Hmm.
Things I Hate About You kind of is, but I
Yeah.
am not doubling up. So
No, I fuck with that. That's fine.
these are all very different vibes of coming of age, if that helps. One of them I'm not even sure you've seen, so you might not get that one.
great. Um,
I
any
just
of
realized I'm not sure if you've seen it.
that's fine. Does any of them involve Nicolas Cage?
No.
Well, why are you doing this to me, Ash? You know. Oh my god. The it's not School of Rock, is it? No,
Is that coming of age? I
not
feel like I don't
really.
even know if
No,
it's
not
coming of
really.
age. I think it's
Yeah,
just kind of like a
he's very much of age.
yeah.
Whiplash. Whiplash isn't really coming of age, is it? Francis Ha.
Oh my God,
Um,
is that coming of age? Because if it is, it would definitely be on
I
this
think it's
list.
on
I
the.
don't know. I
I
guess
don't
it
think
is
it
sort of.
is. I don't like. I would say that it's on the like precipice.
It could be. I mean, that's a fantastic movie. I
It is a
absolutely
fantastic
love it.
movie. Sound of Metal. I just don't know what constitutes coming of age. Everyone's kind of like a little bit different.
I know. I'm
Um,
not trying to trick you. I'm
no,
sorry.
no, no, no. You know, no, no. It's just like I'm just trying to work it out in my noggin. Um,
You always jump to crime and come back.
we could.
Give you 5 more minutes, Harry, to try to get as many of these as you can.
All right, crime. Did you put Heat up there?
No.
That's crazy to me.
Favorite
Oh,
of all time?
yeah, that's nuts.
I've
That's
seen it
nuts.
one time.
Are you calling Nice Guys crime?
Yes.
Cool. Nice Guys. No Country for Old Men.
No.
That's
Fantastic movie though. 5-star film.
that's crazy. That is
Again, all of these movies I have seen multiple times.
Drive.
Yes. Had to be
Um,
two Ryan Gosling on there. Come on.
Pulp Fiction.
Yes. Number one.
What have I got so far, like numbers wise in crime?
You have number one, two, and three.
Great. I thought that was
These
gonna
are
be
also all 5-star films for me. All the coming of age and all the crime ones are all 5 stars.
okay. Would you put The Dark Knight as crime? I would. No,
Yeah, but no,
not in it.
not on
Cool.
top
No,
five.
that's fine. That's fine.
Still 5 star.
Zodiac.
No, really close though. Really close. That's like probably number six.
Silence of the Lambs.
No,
Hella High Water. Knives Out.
no, close. No, Knives Out. I was like, that's more like a who done it. So it's hard. Crime's really broad.
Kill Bill.
Close. So
Oh,
close.
Wolf of Wall Street.
Yes.
Yes.
Number five.
Prisoners. As I said, Prisoners.
Not prisoners.
Seven.
Yes.
Yes, nice. All right, crime
Got
done.
it. Done.
All right, so
Crime and horror comedies done.
I'm missing two from romance. Are the
You're
two?
missing my bottom two rom-coms
Are
and you're
they?
missing three coming of age.
Do you give the romance ones are missing 5.
No,
Oh, what do you give them then, Ash?
4.
Oh, Ash, but
They
just
really should just be 5 stars. Rom-coms are hard to rate.
they are. And then you
Think
said they're
about
from.
rom-coms that you like.
I do Sleepless in Seattle. Rom-coms that I like. Pretty Woman. Pretty Woman should be there. Parent
My
Trap.
mom's favorite movie, though.
I'm just gonna start rattling them off. Wedding Singer.
Yep,
Pretty.
number 5.
Yes, good.
You
All
know I
right.
love that movie.
I know you do. You got Mail. Meet the Parents. Walk the Line. It's not a rom-com. Crazy Stupid Love.
Yes,
Nice.
number
Good.
4.
All
Best
right.
reveal in movie history.
All right. And then the other 3 coming of ages are 5-star from you, right?
Oh, yeah.
Um, Christ.
I consider this to be a coming of age, but you could maybe put this into other genre categories as well.
Like, what other genre categories are you talking about? Coming
Like,
of age can be every fucking genre.
like it takes place in high school, but maybe it's funny too.
So, comedy. Um, takes place in high school, but it's a comedy, and you're giving it 5-star,
5 stars.
and it's definitely not School of Rock.
No, and I've definitely logged it at least 5, maybe 4 times on Letterboxd.
Super bad.
Bingo.
Christ, has what are you doing to yourself? Is that the only comedy one?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're missing 3 and 5. Again, 5, I don't know if you've seen now that I'm looking at it. I thought that you had, but I don't think you have.
Okay.
But I have talked about this movie to you guys.
Okay. Number 5, and you've given it 5 out of 5,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not animated.
No, none of these are animated.
Okay, cool.
But Spirited Away and Kiki's Delivery Service are real close to the
That's
top
what
5.
I was gonna pick, Kiki. 5 out of
Think
5.
about a great classic American coming of age story.
Oh, Wet Hot American Summer.
No. I mean, that's an amazing film, but that's those kids aren't learning any life lessons. They're just being crazy.
They're very much not, are they?
One of the greatest actors of our time,
You said Nicolas Cage
giving
wasn't in any of them.
giving some great advice throughout the way.
Great
No,
advice.
not Nick Cage.
Jesus Christ, I've done well.
You have all of them,
I
but
got
2.
18
So
out of
we can
20.
stop here if you
Donnie
want.
Darko?
Is that coming of age?
Not really.
Talk about another weird acid trip of a movie.
Um,
Yeah, 18 out of 20. I think that's still really good.
Clueless though. Clueless rules though. Fuck.
List does rule.
Everything I know. I just keep having movies in my head, and then I'm like, she would have given that 5-star, but how is that a coming of age film?
All right.
Yeah,
Let's just
I'm
stop
okay
here.
at 90%. I'm okay with 90%.
Yeah, it's a great score. So number 3 is Good Will Hunting. That's the one I was talking about. Robin Williams,
Yeah.
great actor of our time.
Oh, I should.
And the 5th one is 20th Century Women. I know I've talked about it multiple times, but I don't think you or Byron have seen it.
I've never seen it.
It's real good. It's definitely it's very much coming of age, but it's kind of got like different levels of it because it focuses on a teenage boy, but it also has like adults that are still kind of learning things. So
No,
that one could be question mark, but I think it's coming of age.
No, nice. Well, I'm stoked with how I went. That's a great game.
Great job. You know me pretty well, Harry. I'm impressed.
Thank you.
So
I got
nice
90%.
work.
You know, I could know better. I'll do better.
Well, learn better next time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is our game for the episode. So I will let you come out of the hot seat now, Harry, and we will wrap up. So next week, we will be watching through actually a film that neither one of us have seen. Come On, Come On, from, I think it's Mike Mills, starring Joaquin Phoenix. I've heard amazing things. We have a fun guest coming on to talk about the movie with us. So you definitely do not want to miss on that. But that is our thoughts on Under the Silver Lake and our game, How Well Harry Knows Me. This is episode 26. Thank you for listening. Please follow us on everything, socials, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all the things. And we appreciate you listening. Until next time, though, I'm Ash. This is Harry, and we will see you at the movies.